Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining today. My name is Amanda Meyer, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at Estimating Edge. Today, Steve Manning, who is our training and technical support specialist, will be covering background image managers. Before we get started, we have a couple housekeeping items. All lines have been muted, but we will answer your questions after the webinar. To ask a question, enter them into the question window. Steve, next screen, please. I will also be sending out an email of the recorded link, and it's also available on our website on demand. When you leave the webinar today, there will be a pop-up window that will open with a 3-question survey. One of the questions asks you about what topics you'd like to see in the upcoming webinars. We'd love to hear your feedback. Don't forget to sign up for next month's webinar on items templates on November 13th. Thank you everyone again for joining. Steve, let's get started.
All right, thanks, Amanda. And I want to thank everybody for chiming in today and taking some time off your schedules to watch this webinar. So what we're going to do is we're going to be covering the background image manager. And when you first create a job and you decide to manipulate some images, there's a couple different places where you can either add or work with images. And one of those buttons, when you're on the scenarios breadcrumb, is called images. Also, if I advance to my sections or my pages, it's the same button, says manage bid images, takes you to the same place. So we're going to go back to scenarios here, and I'm just going to click on images. And this takes us out to our background image overview. I have one image I added already, and that I created a page from. We're going to use that in a demonstration a little bit later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide, I get some images from a client or an architect, and I have to add those to an existing job. I have some options up here. Right now, we are looking at the root folder where all the images get added in the beginning. So I'm going to click Add Image, and it's going to bring me to a Windows lookup to find those background images wherever they may be stored on your computer. Happen to have a folder here, and I could do this a couple different ways. I can choose one image and hit Open to bring it in. I could choose one, hold the Shift key to select the whole range of images, or I could just hold the Control key and cherry pick the ones that I want. I'm going to choose to pick these 8 and hit Open and bring them in. Now, excuse me, what you see here is a thumbnail view of each of the images, and if I click on this by left-clicking the mouse, it gives me a preview of that image. I also have in the thumbnail an X, which will allow me to remove the image, and I have a gear to adjust the quality of that image. If I click on that gear, it allows me to adjust the bit depth or the bits per pixel from the default setting all the way up to a color setting, which will give you the highest resolution. Especially good when you have to use a color image or maybe a Google Maps view of a roof for the roofing industry. But keep in mind, when you do use the color bit depth, it does increase the file size, and it can slow that job down if you have a lot of images that you're bringing into the job. So I'm going to hit Cancel here. I'm going to keep the quality the way it is. To the right of that gear on each of the images, I have a little square. If I select that square, you'll notice on the upper right corner, it allows me to create a page from that image. This is just one of many ways where we can create images or pages from images. So if I choose to create an image or a page from an image, I can just check those. If I don't want an image to be a page, I'll just uncheck those, and it'll just be added to my background image manager. So what I'll do is I'll just keep them the way they are. I'll add one as an image or as a page, and I'm going to continue in the lower right corner. So now it brings me to my background image overview. Now, we have all the images I selected earlier, have some buttons here that give you some options. The paper pencil icon will allow you to change the name of the image, which will also, in turn, be your page name if you choose to create a page from that image. You can choose to remove the image. And you also have a blue folder here, which will allow you to open up multiple images at once. They're all going behind the screen, but because of the screen share. But you do have the ability to have multiple images open at once, maybe on a third screen, so you can look at your detail plans. Now, every image viewer outside of the Edge might be a little different when they're third party. So they all have some tools at the top, usually a next and previous, a zoom in and a zoom out tool, and maybe a print and a save. So every image manager will be different, but they will all act the same when using them in the Edge as far as viewing multiple images at once. So I can also choose to add and create a page from an image by right-clicking my mouse. I get some menu options to either create a page, move a folder, or delete the image, and clear sorting and filtering. Now, I'll go through some of those options here in a little bit. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, we're in the root folder, which is where all the images get added in the beginning. You do have the ability to create a folder and add images. As let's say you got detail plans, you want to keep them out of the root folder. You can create a new folder and add them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, and actually I'm going to go to add a folder. I'm going to call this details. And put in for the description that it's going to be my detail plans. So I created a folder called details. You may not see it. If I click on the folder name, it's right here. If I go to that folder, it's empty. So I'm going to go back to root folder, and I have some detail plans that I'm going to choose to move to the detail folder. By selecting one or more, I can right click and go move to folder by left clicking, and then choose from my drop down menu which folder I want to move to. So I'm going to choose details, and I'm going to hit save. It's going to verify that you want to do that and ask you that question. I'm going to hit yes. Now my root folder is quite smaller. If I go to my detail plan or detail folder, here they are. All the same buttons work the same way. Preview. This is a preview of the image if you want to look at an image. By clicking that arrow to the right, it just gives you a preview of what those images are. Now, there are some tools here when we're looking at our images. At the top, we got our select tool. We got a zoom to fit screen, and that's pretty handy if you zoom in to an image. And I'm going to show you how that works right now. I take in the mouse wheel, and I'm rolling the mouse wheel towards the screen to zoom in, and roll it towards myself to zoom out. That zoom to fit will allow me just bring it back to its original size. We also have a select zoom area. If I left click, I select that tool, left click, let go of the mouse, and left click again, and it'll allow me to zoom into a specific area on that page. And again, I can go back to zoom to fit the screen. We have overlay and compare to another drawing, which I'll show you a little bit later in this webinar. And we also have a ability to crop an image and create. Also deskew, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. And also the ability to rotate images clockwise or counterclockwise at 90-degree intervals if the image were to come in with a different orientation. So moving on, across the top, we also have some more buttons here to view the previous image or the next. We also have the ability to edit the image name, just like on the previous screen, and also a create page from the image. So there's many different ways to create a page after the job is created. Now, in order to do any sort of markups or changes to the image, we have the ability to mark it up. And in order to do that, we hit Add Modify, and we set a scale. Now the scale will be whatever it's set to on this detail plan or any image that you have. And we click OK. Now I got some more tools that lit up after I chose the Modify, and we'll get to those in a little bit. But what I want to show you, as I mentioned earlier, is the ability to crop an image. Let's go back to something that's got a little more detail to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose the crop. And I'm going to left click, much like I did with the zoom earlier. And I'm going to drag, left click. And you can see on the right side, it's going to allow me to save the cropped image. And I can just save that by giving it a name. So I'm going to call this Stairway Detail. And I'm going to hit Save. Now this just became a separate image in the edge. So you could use this on your image that you can use for doing a takeoff, or maybe you have a detail plan that's got multiple details on it and you want to just focus on one of those and create an image. This is the best way to do that. Now it became its own image. So again, in order to do any markups here, which we're going to do next, we have to choose Add Modify, set the scale. I'm going to call this a 1/4 inch. I didn't catch it on the previous screen, but I believe it was a 1/4 inch. And we got some tools that we can light up here. One of them being the Undo Redo, which is throughout version 12. Replicate, which works just the same as it does in version 12 on the takeoff screen. But we got some annotating tools here, one of them being the text box. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to left click, create a text box. And I'm just going to put in a text box here, yellow paint. And I have another tool below here called the arrow tool, which will allow me to create a starting point by left clicking and an end point. Now the starting point in this case will always be where the head of the arrow is going to appear. You can certainly change that after the fact by going up here to the arrow end and choosing start, end, both, or neither, and that'll change the orientation of the arrow, which way it's going to be pointing for you. You also have the ability to change the line size of that arrow and also the arrow size itself by left clicking in the mouse and changing that. Another tool here, the little triangle, is a highlight tool, which allows you to left click, maybe highlight that area, and also a measured line tool if you just wanted to put a line out there with some sort of measurement. And again, I could select that, move it down, and adjust the font and the line thickness with those tools at the top here as well. Even the color can be changed. And I didn't mention earlier, but when you're in the text box, you also have the ability to change the font size and type if needed. Once we've marked up our image, we want to save it that way. We hit commit, just under annotations at the top. Now, this is important if you're working on an image and you have collaboration mode selected, where you can have multiple people in a job with sections checked out, so more than one person can work at their workstation on the same job. When you choose commit, this image will be uploaded to the job automatically right away if someone else who's working on that job needs to see that image right away. So with that said, I'm going to go back to the background image overview. And I'm going to go to show root folder, which is what we're in. Now you notice here in orange, this came up earlier. When you see this, and I go to preview that image, basically it's telling me I made some changes and I didn't commit to that. So that's why it's telling me, it's kind of giving you a little visual warning that you didn't commit to that image. If you choose not to commit to it, just hit the cancel, and it'll reverse whatever you did to that image. And now that square is gone, that rectangle that was alerting me on that. So if I go to my, let's see here, I'm going to go to a full tapered plan here. And this is a good example of an alternate bid where you get, and this is actually pretty good for the interior clients, where you get an alternate bid and maybe you took off a whole floor with partitions and they changed the floor layout and maybe they added or removed walls. You have the ability to take an existing image, overlay the alternate plan, and see the changes between the two. So let me demonstrate that for you. I have two images here. The tapered plan, this would be for a roof, but the same thing applies for our interior customers. I'm going to preview that image, and then I'm going to choose to overlay and compare another drawing. By selecting that, it's going to tell me in the upper right corner, select a page to compare. I got a plan here, which is my alternate bid page called Full Tapered, and I'm going to choose to compare. Now, depending on the file size, it might take a little bit. So this might take up to 15, 20 seconds, especially with the remote connection here. But what's going to happen is it's going to overlay your existing image in red with the new alternate image in blue. And right now it looks a little blurry because it didn't line up with the previous image. So what we can do is choose to align the two images together and save them as one. So I'm going to choose the align button here on the upper right corner. And it's going to give a specific set of instructions. Click a point on the red image. So I'm just going to click this inside corner. I'm going to actually roll the wheel towards me a little bit. Actually, I'm locked. There we go. Just so I could get into that corner in the red. And that's going to instruct you to click on a point on the blue image that maps to the point where the red image should line up, which is just below here. Okay, and they got to do it twice. So I like to do it across the image. So I'm going to do it down here in the lower left, and then again in the lower right. Now this might take a few seconds to materialize, but what's going to happen is it's going to align these two drawings so everything will come together. And if I did it right, it shouldn't look like you're seeing a 3D movie without the glasses on. Not bad. A little bit blurry, but you always have the chance to do it again if you'd like. What you would do is just click the align again and just go through those steps again if needed. I'm just going to choose to save the image. So I'm going to choose the box here in the upper left corner to save new image. And I'm just going to call this full tapered alternate, and hit save. So now that I'm back to my preview, I'm going to close out of the background image overview. And this from the drawing from earlier. I'm going to just preview or go over to my takeoff. Here's a page I already had earlier. And this is a page I created earlier from one of the images from the background image overview. I just don't have conditions added to it yet. But in order to swap out the image that has existing quantities on it that you already did the takeoff, you have to be on the actual page name in the bid tree, kind of highlighted here in off yellow, or the word conditions. Because when you're on either the page name or the word conditions below, you get the page information on the right side. Now, this is important because if you have images that you did not create pages from and you create a page manually down the road later, not from an image, you'll have to be on these two in order to see them. If you're on a condition, you're not going to get the page information. You're going to get the condition information for the condition that you're currently sitting on. So it's important that you get on the page name or the word conditions below it to get the page information and give you some information on the page. And also what's important here is the image drop-down menu, which has all the images in my library, including my full tapered alternate. Just by left-clicking that, I'm bringing in that image and replacing it with the one that was there previously, which now I can see, in this case, for this roofing job, my crickets turned into a full tapered system, and I could make my changes accordingly. So that's how you would swap an image, either to bring in a newer image or after you overlay and compare and create a new image from those two images to add it to the page. Now I got one last thing I want to show everybody. And let me minimize the screen and go back to my background image manager, which is under Manage Bid Images, under Pages and Sections. I have one image here that is a detail. And so this may happen sometimes where you get an image that was scanned in by hand from maybe a piece of paper, and maybe it was slightly off in the printer if it wasn't created digitally in Adobe Acrobat or any other program, a CAD program. You have the ability to straighten this out. And that is the Deskew tool. So let me just go to Add Modify. And Deskew, let me just hit cancel here. We really don't need to do that for this. So Deskew, and it says draw a 2-point horizontal line. Now, you basically have to draw the line, that is basically not horizontal here. So I'm just going to click left side and then the top. So I'm going up on a slight angle, left click, and it straightens it out. So you could use this for any image, bring it into the edge now and create a page from it. And the orientation will be a lot easier to work with because you're at straight 90-degree angles. That pretty much sums up the demonstration of the background image manager. So back to you, Amanda, for any questions.
Thank you, Steve. Let's get started on some audience questions. The first question we have is, can you rename the page after, or from that screen, so after, where can you name the pages when you bring in the image?
Okay, when you bring in the image in, you could rename the image to be that page name. However, the best way to change the page name is when you're on your page's breadcrumb, you can right-click left-click, choose Edit, or simply click the paper pencil icon, change the page here as well, and hit Save.
Thank you very much. And that's all the questions that we have. And just a reminder, guys, we will send out an email for the recorded link of this webinar if you want to go back and watch it again. It's also available on our website. Oh, one more question. It's hard to rename them when they came, hold on. It's hard to rename them when they came from the multi-page PDF. Can you show us how to do that?
Okay, so if it's one whole plan set, and if they don't come in as one image, well, they should come in as separate images if you load the whole plan set. If you choose to add all those images to the job, it's just a matter of going back to your Bid Image Manager and selecting each image and changing the name. I'm guessing that was the question.
There's not, yeah.
Alrighty, thank you. And I believe that's all the questions we have today. So thank you again for everyone joining, and thank you, Steve.
All right, thanks everybody.
Day.
You have a good day.
Thank you.
I think that last question was really just pointing out